Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the UNA, that's United Nation of Acronyms, I'll be your host, Dave Trumbore. Joining me as always, communications expert and exotic pet store owner, it's Sean Paul
Oof.
Ellis. How's it going, buddy?
David, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I don't even know how I am tonight. I'm so confused. And completing our trio, he's a race car driving kung fu expert. It's Matt Barron. What's up, sir?
Hey, this has been the most confusing show I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
life.
guys, I have to apologize in advance. I'm in a very strange headspace right now after watching this show. I don't think it was real. I think I'm like on a bad trip or something because I don't understand anything
I
that's
don't
happening.
I don't understand. I am very confused as to how you guys are confused about this show.
I can't even put it into words, which is going to make podcasting and hosting this extremely difficult, but I will do my best. I'm going to let Sean take it from here as far as giving you the history of the show. Oh, Sean, maybe you should tell the folks what we're watching today.
We are watching M.A.S.K, which is an acronym that means Mobile Armored Strike Command. That's command with a K.
Of course.
Um, they are an underground task force that is set on deterring the criminal organization known as Venom, which obviously has to be an acronym
Of
for
course.
Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem. This show ran for a couple years. It ran from 85 to 88, and surprise, surprise, its main reason for existing was to sell toys. I know that we have talked about this quite extensively before. This is like one of those cartoons that like Hasbro and Kenner were just like, let's get as many possible toys out on the market. And so I guess the main idea about Mask is that these the people who are on this task force have these uh, they have these vehicles that transform into other vehicles, and so it might be like a Jeep that also turns into like some type of a like an aquatic um, like jet ski type machine as well, to allow them to fight Venom on land and sea. A lot of their vehicles transformed in terms of strategic placement of guns and missiles, and they, in addition to their transforming vehicles, they also have these obviously masks that they wear over top of them, which allow them special powers as well.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good synopsis. We didn't want to do an official one today because I wanted to just get each of the guys, including my own, kind of very unique understanding of what the hell this show was about. Now, I think Sean watched this when he was a kid.
I
If
did.
I'm correct, Matt and I did not. A little before our time.
That is very
That
correct.
is 100% correct. So we came into this with, I mean, normally I do a fair amount of research for this show. We're actually on a fairly short week, so I didn't have my normal amount of time to do my research and figure out what the hell was going on. So this one lost me. I don't know if it just lost me because vehicles are turning into vehicles and masks are changing masks and people have 50 names and I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to let Matt give me his 2 cents of what he thinks this show is about. Maybe he can clear something up for me.
It was to me it was more G.I. Joe than Transformers. You have that like kind of all these people seem to be like ex-military people, and their masks were. I mean, I thought they allowed them to control the machines kind of in a telepathic way, but it turns out that was totally wrong. And also, like, the thing that I didn't get about the masks is they weren't like part of a special armor or something like that. It wasn't like the, cap piece to a special bodysuit or something like that, because people were wearing masks that like let their beards come out of them, or they were wearing masks with T-shirts on, and it's like I don't get what the purpose of this mask is, because why would you wear an armored mask with a fucking
Now,
T-shirt?
granted, if that was socially acceptable in today's day and age, I would probably do that. Maybe not the best idea now to go walking around in an
Well, it was
armored
certainly
mask.
acceptable in the 80s.
Yeah, apparently 1985. I mean, to me, it's the strangest combination of almost everything you can think of. This, I feel like the K in mask stands for kitchen sink because they throw in Transformers stuff, weird mask powers, a lot of GI Joe Cobra type things, some other stuff that we've talked about on the show before, like Centurions kind of feel because people are changing masks and changing vehicles and changing outfits, and they introduce about 15 characters in the space of a minute, and I honestly I just couldn't keep track of who anybody was, what was going on. I got the very basic good guys versus bad guys. That's about as far as I got in the show. I didn't know why they were doing what they were doing, one way or the other. I didn't know where these masks came from. I didn't know what time period this was set in. I, I completely lost. Completely lost. I just kind of stared at the screen like with my mouth agape for the 20 minutes because I've just. And that's not to say that I didn't like the show. I'm just 100% confused. So
Okay.
I don't know where to go with that. Hey, do you
All
want to go
right.
to the theme song? Maybe that'll clear it up for us. What do you
I
think?
do. Would you like to hear the theme
Buddy,
song?
you love these theme songs, and you've got your
I
theme
love
song
these.
theory,
I really,
your dissertation in the works. So this is
I
all you.
really, yes.
All you.
Um, so let me go through. It says, masked crusaders fighting overtime, or I'm sorry, masked crusaders working overtime, fighting crime.
Now I got to pause you right there
S-
because I have a
Sure.
different lyrics. I have working all the time. Are we gonna
Oh,
go
really?
overtime? Because as Matt
I
mentioned
have.
off camera or off screen, he wasn't aware that these superheroes worked at an hourly rate. So I don't know if they work all the time or if they get overtime like time and a half with special benefits. I don't know.
I mean, I did not transcribe the song. I'm going with another transcription that I
Okay,
found
fair
online.
enough.
Um, so this
From the top,
has
yeah.
so I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong
No,
with
dude, I
this.
have no idea.
Um, Secret raiders who will neutralize as soon as they arrive at the site. Tracker, he's gonna lead the mission, and Spectrum's got such supervision. Mask. It's the mighty power that can save the day. Mask. No one knows what lies behind the
Did
masquerade.
somebody check on Sean? Is he okay? Is he having like an episode? Does he have
I'm losing my
epilepsy
shit.
from watching this freaking show?
I'm losing my shit because Matt's packing up. Here, hold on. I gotta finish
Finish
this up.
strong. Finish strong.
Mask.
Oh my god, I literally can't keep it together with you two.
Uh, always riding hot on Venom's trail.
Hmm.
Come see the laser rays. Fire away.
Now explain everything to me because I understand these words. I know what they mean, but put them together, especially with the stuttering. I can't. I don't. What is happening? What is this show? What are they
Oh
doing?
my
I get that they're
god.
fighting crime. All right. I get that they're gonna do it as soon as they show up. That makes sense. I don't understand
Okay.
anything else in this theme song. I know who
Okay.
Trekker
What
is, but we'll talk about that when we get to the characters.
Tracker. So Tracker is the main. He's sort of like the leader of Mask.
Right.
Right. So, and I should
Yeah, he's a
mention.
super creepy philanthropist that just like kidnaps girls who pass out in ravines and takes them
Yeah.
home against
I
their
mean,
will.
Yeah,
who,
but wakes up fully clothed in like a suit.
Yeah,
who?
yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
let's
a bunch
be
of my
honest.
friends found you passed out in a ravine, so now here you are in a
Yeah.
stranger's house. Anyway, getting ahead of
Okay.
myself. Yeah, explain this theme song to me. Walk me through this, please.
Okay. So a mask comes with the tagline that illusion is the ultimate weapon.
Okay.
Okay. And so Mask heavily borrows the strong points of GI Joe
Right.
and Transformers, uh, and combines that into one show. And so instead of
Yes.
having like robots that are in disguise, these are just vehicles that kind of have a dual purpose. So it doesn't seem that like far fetched. Like I mean, we have like what was it like monster truck rallies where like a car turns into like Truckzilla and then eats a car and crap like that. So I mean, like
Sure, or
I
like
want
the
to say
last
that like
Fast and Furious movie where every vehicle
yeah,
begat another vehicle from inside of it. So yeah, that's fine. I'm
yes,
fine with that. I get that, especially to try to sell the toys. I didn't
Sure.
get that from the theme song so much, but from watching the show, I'm like, okay, I can keep pace with that for the most part. So
Okay.
we're good there.
All right. So I guess I guess I'm curious, like what you guys
What what is Spectrum?
don't get it.
Even like when I was reading the Wikipedia, is Spectrum the masks? Is Spectrum something that may? Is it another acronym? Did it make the masks? Is it? What is it? Does anybody know? Spectrum's got such supervision, mask, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's the mighty power that can
So
save the day. I
so
still don't know what it is. Yeah.
Spectrum is one of the masks. And it is specifically the mask that, for a good portion of the show, Matt
Right.
Tracker
Okay.
wears. And so that is the name. So every mask has its own specific
Oh
name.
boy, do they, because that is something I want to get into once we start going into the character intros. This page,
And I
Oh
mean,
God,
this wiki
I'm
page,
looking.
it's
I'm looking at I'm looking at a list of the mask names
dude,
now, and some of them are real
I mean,
great.
they're great names, but just holy shit, every single character has
yeah.
literally dozens of names associated with it, whether it's a vehicle, the mask, their nickname, their actual name, and I love their character descriptions too. But that's why, like, they introduced 15 of these guys on the good and bad side, and I could not keep up with it at all. We normally have like a
So
character guide on our website for the week leading up to it. That is going to be a bear to put together, but I'm going to do my best, see what we can
Yeah.
do.
Well, I mean, I think that I think between the so I know I watched the first and the second
Right.
episode. Matt watched the same, and Dave, I believe you watched the
Yeah, I
first
only caught the
episode.
first episode, so maybe it clears it up a little bit in the second.
So so I mean, maybe what we maybe what we look at is really just the group of characters that were introduced over those two
Sure.
episodes, which is not that many. I mean, there's maybe like I mean, it is a copious amount. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. There's like 6 to 8 guys that are all introduced in like montage form, and I can't state this enough. The montage that these guys are
Oh
introduced
boy.
in is one of my favorite things in
I
the
will agree
show.
with you.
It
I went
is
back and watched that multiple
ridiculously
times
It
because
entertaining.
it's the
was
best. It's the
fantastic.
It
best.
is so good.
Do you want to start
It is
talking about
so
that now,
fun.
since it's basically like A, it's how we're introduced to most of
Yes.
the characters while we're watching it,
Yes.
and B, we're at that point where we talk about the
Yeah.
characters anyway. Because I still don't know what's
Sure. Sure.
happening in the
Sure.
show, so we might as well talk about the
Okay.
people that are in it.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Matt Tracker, who apparently has an additional nickname because Tracker's not good enough, so he also needs to have the nickname of Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
according to the
I didn't
Wikipedia.
really get that. I mean, according to Wikipedia, but I didn't really get that from watching the show. It wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, he's Matt Tracker. We need to learn more about this garbage. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really get into that much myself.
Okay.
So I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, sure, yes, they all probably have nicknames that are related to the tasks and the jobs that they have that are at hand. But I mean, for the most part, you get introduced to Matt Tracker, and he's like, "My name's Tracker, Matt Tracker."
Right.
It's not like he needs to call Hunter.
Call himself
He
Hunter
doesn't
or
need
anything
to.
like that.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't need to call out Hunter at any point.
And he's
So
honestly
I
like
mean,
the most easily understood character, I think, in this thing, because he's just like your generic, millionaire philanthropist. Fine. We've seen
sure,
that before. We've seen it in comics. That's very familiar. That's fine.
yeah.
It's odd that he, somewhat kidnaps passed out women in a ravine and brings them home, but whatever. That's his
Well,
thing. So that's fine.
I mean, okay. I mean, let's talk about that. He's not kid. It's not. We should specify.
Well,
He is not kidnapping passed out
he's
women. All
just
right.
sleep napping them. Yeah.
He's he was helping her. He was
Oh,
protecting her.
that's. I don't know if that holds up in court, but yes, he was helping her.
Well, you know,
I'm being a dick.
he was.
Yes, this woman was. We'll talk about this in the episodes as we go through them. But basically, she was in some dire straits, needed some help, and Matt Tracker, millionaire philanthropist that he is, brought her in, took care of her, and then helped her out even further along the way with his group of crazy mask wearing race car drivers. That's my understanding
Right.
of this show. So I don't know if that made sense to anybody else or not, but that's my understanding of it.
Well, no. So there's the scientist, and there is a there's a meteor that crashes.
Ooh,
The scientist wants to get this meteor for a part of her research that she's doing. Um, it gets the meteor gets stolen by something that looks like a UFO,
yes.
but is not a UFO.
Can I? Okay, I'm gonna save I want to use her quote that they basically open the episode with, but I'm gonna save that for the episode discussion, and we'll get back to the characters and the
So
montage now. We'll save that talk for later.
So yeah, so I mean, Matt Tracker is, we should say, he is a good
Yeah,
guy.
good
Like,
guy.
he's an upstanding dude
Yeah.
who's, doing quite a bit for this lady, who, as we mentioned, is in these dire straits, and so he is very helpful.
Yes.
Um, he doesn't. I'll say this, like, I did not feel like he had a ton in terms of like personality. He was
Nope.
just kind of like, I am a human being and I will help
They're
you out.
all robots. I
Fair
mean,
enough.
every voice
Like,
in this was just basically like just deadpan delivery. There's a line where he's just like, "I don't know whether to hug you or spank you," when he's like talking to his kid at the
yep.
end of the episode, and he just delivers
Yeah,
it
that
just
was
like
great.
that. No inflection, no emotion whatsoever. So yeah, this guy's pretty vanilla. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so he is in charge of the group now.
Right.
Um, Here's the crazy thing, and I don't know what episode they really get into
Hmm.
this. Okay, but Matt Tracker had a brother named Andy, and Miles Mayhem. Now Miles Mayhem is the guy who is like the creepy general, that is in charge and the leader of Venom.
Right.
Okay, so Miles Mayhem, Andy Tracker, as well as Matt Tracker are the guys who decide to create M.A.S.K in general,
Okay.
like M.A.S.K proper. Like, the three of them stood this thing up. Miles Mayhem double crosses them, and during that process, it leads to the death of Matt Tracker's brother, Andy.
Okay. So there you go.
Okay,
There's your
so
conflict.
so yeah, sure. So other than the fact that, like, fucking Miles Mayhem is trying to like steal everything possible
Yeah.
that is on the planet.
Yeah.
So then what happens is, Tracker has an adopted son named Scott,
Right.
and Scott is the one that he makes the, like, I don't know whether or not to hug you or to spank you comment to. So you kind of get introduced to Scott Tracker very early on,
Mhm.
as well as also his robot
Oh
companion
boy.
named T-Bob.
This fucking thing.
Who
Which
has
is-
a hot new album dropping this fall?
Yeah, exactly.
From
Which
T-Bob.
T-Bob is short. T-Bob is evidently short for Thingamabob.
Oh my god. I would have felt a lot better not knowing that, but that's fine. We'll go with that.
So
T-Bob.
so moving on with the team, there is
Well, let's
like
talk
the
about
second.
talk about how Tracker and the show introduce each of these characters. Matt, do you want to take a stab at that? Just like how they montage through these guys, because it was amazing. I loved it.
Well, the thing that I loved about it is so like Matt Tracker sitting down at like this, overly sized
Oh yeah.
computer,
Yeah.
and he tells the computer to select the team that's best equipped for like the particular mission
Right.
involving the meteorite. And I'm like,
Right.
well, then what's your job, Tracker? What is your
Yeah.
job?
His
If
job
the
is to punch
computer
in
is
the.
picking the people,
Yeah, he pushes the buttons.
what is your job?
He turns it on.
Yeah.
Push the buttons.
Push them buttons.
Push the
So that
buttons.
was the first thing. So they just start going through God, and I don't even know how many characters it was.
All of
I
them.
lost track
It
after
was all of
I
them.
lost track after 5.
There were like 8.
So
There were literally 8 people
yeah.
sitting around this like Knights of the Round Table thing, getting these masks shoved on their heads, and they
So we should
introduced
mention-
all
So-
8.
So I mean,
Well,
so
now
they,
hang on. So the computer like starts listing off people, and they start looking at their little watch, which they all have the same one, and a little mask shows up, so it's like the bat signal. But they're all in these like mundane situations
Yes.
when their like little watch goes off. So like one of them, I don't know who was the pizza guy, but he's like standing
that
in
was
the back.
Dusty.
You know,
That
Yeah.
was Dusty.
So
Okay.
Dusty
So
Powder
Dusty's,
Keg
like,
Hayes
tossed in-
is pizza
He's-
cook and delivery driver apparently.
yeah, he's tossing pizzas up in the air, just making them. Like throws one up in the air, looks at his watch going off. Pizza hits the ground, and the kid behind the counter gives him a look like, "No, what the fuck is that?"
No, okay, because
Oh my
you were
God.
thinking that he gave him a what the fuck. I was thinking that the kid that was behind the counter. I tweeted this out. I thought the kid behind the counter, when he was looking at him, was giving him this. I took a picture of it. It looks like the kid behind the counter is like, "What are you doing flipping those pizzas when you could come back here and flip me around?" And it was
Oh,
like,
boy.
whoa, this has got oddly sexual
Yeah.
in my brain for some reason.
Well, Dusty is
Um,
a stunt driver, so
he is.
he's got that charisma going for him.
He's way
And
too sexy.
and then which one is the I forget which guy is the exotic pet store
Yes,
owner.
he is my favorite. He's the one that,
You're talking about Alex Sector.
yes, who's basically Sean.
Yes, which is hilarious because he's like has this gigantic snake around his neck, talking to a guy in a suit. Watch goes off. He just takes the snake off of his neck and just puts it on the guy who he's talking to.
Oh my
Just
god.
like puts it on his neck. It's like, here,
I
hold this python.
I was losing it when he did that. In
Yes.
fact, I live tweeted the first two episodes, and it took me forever to get through 40 something minutes of like content because I kept pausing
Yes.
like every 3 seconds, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Thank you.
Like,
There you go. So you do understand my
it was
confusion
blown- I mean,
because
there was just, I mean, there was a little bit of confusion, but I mean, like, there were just, it wasn't confusion about what was going on. I was just what is, like, there were things that were going on that made sense, but like Matt has stated, like, everybody was in the middle of like these mundane fucking jobs,
Yeah.
and then they were just like, "Oh no, you take this python, like, you deal with this crap,"
Yeah.
like, you know, or like Dusty running away from a pizza. Like, I'm trying to figure out how any of these assholes like held down a full-time job because it doesn't seem like Mask is a full-time gig.
well, that's the thing though.
Like-
So here's some of their descriptions. Like, oh, I don't know, we'll pick on Brad Chopper Turner. He's an expert hill climber. That sounds
Sure.
not real. That sounds made up. He's a rock musician. He's a motorcycle driver and a helicopter pilot. Okay.
Oh, I'm glad that he's narrowed it down to the things that he's good at.
Yeah, I'm glad he's got everything. Now, speaking of mundane descriptions, Hondo Striker McLean, or
the
McLean,
best.
is probably my
Hondo's the
favorite.
best.
Weapon specialist, tactical strategist, occupation, history teacher. At this
So
point,
the best.
that was my
Well,
favorite
So
one
in
after
the
the
montage,
snake. Yeah, yeah.
In the montage when they introduce Hondo, he is sitting in the front of a class. His watch goes off, and he just gets up
Gone.
and leaves. Like, what are those
Call
kids
the
are
sub,
totally
kids.
unsupervised.
Oh my god.
Like, not a single word
Well,
said. He's just like, "Yeah, you guys deal with this shit."
The hilarious thing is like, I feel like these are all people who have like over the course of their lives have just completely destroyed once profitable careers, and now these jobs are the only thing they have left. Like the stunt driver who turns into like the pizza guy. Like, obviously he biffed some sort of 18 bus jump and landed a car into the crowd and killed 30 people.
Now that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
what is these guys'
Like,
background?
the
Like,
military intelligence guy
Right.
was some part of some huge scandal,
Right.
and now the only thing he can do is teach history. So it's great.
So we get introduced to this other character named Bruce Sato.
Thank you.
Who just to read the
And
description
this is
of
great.
Sato. All right,
This is
mechanical
80s.
engineer and design specialist who serves as Matt Tracker's de facto second in command. Bruce Sato is of Japanese origin.
Oh, is he?
He often talks in Confucian riddles that only Tracker seems to understand. Occupation: toy designer.
This show.
It was great because like the two things about Sato was the rings that shot out of the eyes of his mask,
Yeah.
and then also the fact that he's talking in these like Confucian riddles. Confucius was Chinese. He wasn't Japanese.
Dude, this was the 80s. It didn't matter. To kids, it didn't matter. That's fine. The best part is
Well,
that
obviously
they're not
it
even...
didn't matter to adults either.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
shit is incredible.
And super, super offensive because he always talks kind of like this. Matt Tracker. Just, oh my god, it's just the worst. Do you remember his riddle from the first episode?
Oh
No,
yeah.
I was too busy looking at the yellow circles that shot out of his Asian eyes, and I just
Yeah.
thought, good
They
lord.
did not try to mask that one. Everything is terrible.
Well, I mean, before we get into because he gives the riddle about a flying fish.
Yes.
And so I think he says something to the extent of, if you see a flying fish, you don't look for the fish, but you look for the bird.
Right. And Dusty's like,
that
well,
is-
there he goes again. Like, Dusty's kind of this
Yeah.
southern drawl, kind of whoop doop doop, and just doesn't understand what Sato is saying. And then Tracker's just
Yeah,
like, oh,
no,
I
you know what?
immediately
I'm
understand.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say in everybody else's defense on this fucking show,
Yeah.
okay? The fact that Sato is giving them he's giving them intelligence about what he's trying to give them direction.
Yeah.
All right, they clearly nobody understands this other than Matt Tracker, and Sato continues to speak in fucking riddles. What an asshole!
Yeah.
Like pro tip, all right? Maybe not give your team intel in the form of a riddle if nobody understands fucking riddles, you dum dum. Like, just give it to him straight. Like he has to sound intelligent with these riddles every time he fucking says something. It's just like shut the fuck up. Like
Hey man, he's got nothing else other than his toys, though. He's like the little lonely toy maker. Other than
he's
his
got
riddles, he's got
he
nothing.
has plenty of stuff going for him. Okay, I mean he drives he drives a tractor
That's
trailer
true.
that like turns into like the mobile command station.
Don't you have that
This was
toy?
actually I had the Sato
Yes.
toy.
Okay.
Um, I had the toy of the semi that like the back of it comes like extended, and there was a missile launcher that was in there. Like I got so excited about the missile launcher portion of it. Like it actually worked when I was younger, and it was very cool.
Nice.
So I was
Nice.
super happy.
Matt, did you have any of these toys? You said you didn't watch it, so because I didn't have any toys, I don't know what this was.
I did not know what this was, and I can guarantee you I did not have a single one of the
Okay.
toys.
Sean, I saw you tweeting about it though. Did you have any other toys or talk to anybody else who had some that like just reminded you of them when
Uh,
you were a kid?
yeah, I was talking to somebody who was tweeting during this Tim
Hmm.
Farrow, and I believe he had several of the toys as well. I think he had Tracker, and Condor, the helicopter motorcycle.
Yes.
Um, and I think he had Tracker and the red
Oh,
Camaro or whatever
Thunderhawk.
that he
Yeah.
drove. Yeah, that he drove around. So, so yeah, so it was cool to see that like at least somebody remembered this show as well and also had some of the
Oh,
toys
dude,
too.
and we were
So, and I
talking about
remember that.
this offline though. That like when Sean suggested this, like I said, I didn't know anything about it, but I knew that there were tons of people out there, and a lot of fans of this show. A lot of people had suggested this over the months and year or so that we were putting this idea together for the show. A lot of people had suggested it, and so it's definitely one that I wanted to put on the list, and I'm glad Sean got to it, even if I don't fully understand it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I did think to the point of this show, this went like 2 seasons, and I think there were 75 episodes, like total that were produced.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
weird thing was that
75
like
episodes.
yeah, it only ran as a cartoon for the 2 years, but then they just kept making toys. They had
Yeah.
like five or I don't
I mean,
know.
I mean, I think it was in syndication for I think until like 88.
Yeah, I think so because they had three or
So
four or five series worth of toys that came out too.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
they just kept pumping them out, and I think they even like they brought it back again, and they blended it in with GI Joe only a few years ago in 2008 with another toy
yeah.
line. So that was kind of
Hmm.
interesting. They kept like the tracker character and brought him into which, like Matt said, it was basically just GI Joe and Cobra anyway, so it wasn't much of a stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I think what confused me now that we're talking about it, it makes a little bit slightly more sense. But just like the visuals on the show were so frenetic and they just jumped so much. There was one scene a few minutes from the end where I don't even remember who it was, but somebody shows up on a beach and they like transform their vehicle into a seagoing vessel and they just like
Okay.
skip out into the water and just go on their vessel out there. There's all these people just standing on the beach with their mouths open, just like, what the fuck is happening? And that I wanted to pull that image up and just make this like that's me like as I'm watching this show because just nobody said a word, nobody knew what was going on, and nobody had any kind of like reaction because they were just stunned by the insanity. That's kind of how I felt. I think part of it was that like everybody has a name, everybody has a nickname, everybody has a vehicle that has a name, and then everybody has a mask that has a name, and then every single one of those masks has a different power or ability. And then every single vehicle can change into one or two different vehicles too. And it was just like too much. It was too much. I couldn't keep it all straight. I had no idea what was going on.
Well, I mean, you think about this, like, I don't remember all of the different types of masks
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Like, there's no way. I mean, I'd be insane as a person if I thought that I could like keep up with
Right.
all of the madness revolving around Mask. Like, but I remember the toys being awesome, and I mean, when you were watching it as a kid, like,
Sure.
I mean, I was 6, I think, when this came out. Like, you were looking for like the fun toys or like the interesting pieces that
Sure.
were in this, and like, the masks weren't going to do anything. It was more the vehicles. Like the vehicles are really what made this show and these toys really cool because they couldn't give magic powers to like these little masks that you would put over
Right.
top of somebody's head. So just the transforming vehicles themselves were awesome.
Let me ask you this.
Um,
Did the masks have, I remember like a big selling point of a lot of 80s toys was that weird like hologram sticker that a lot of things had. Do you remember Battle Beasts? You
Oh,
remember
of
those?
course I remember them.
Yeah, and they had that
God.
little hologram thing that was like heat activated, so you'd like put your
Yeah,
finger
yeah.
over it. Yeah,
It was the same like heat activated like decal that you would
right.
put over top of like Transformers and Decepticons, which
Oh yeah, and
always
change
bothered
there.
which
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, which always bothered me because like you'd buy them and then you put your finger over it and it would either rub off immediately because
yeah.
the glue never adhered to the plastic, or you put it over there and you'd be like, oh, Decepticon. Well, I bought a Decepticon. Like, no shit. Like, it wasn't like who were they trying to disguise themselves from? Like, I purchased them because it's a Decepticon or like I don't know, or an Autobot. Like, it never made any sense to me. I was like, there's no surprise here. It was on the fucking packaging.
Yeah.
Like, you dumb,
You
ugh,
dumb kids. But
you
no,
dumb kids.
did these masks have anything like that? Did they have anything that like did they shoot lasers or shoot the little missile pellets or did they
I
have a
mean,
hologram thing or lights or anything?
no, I mean, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
believe I don't know that I don't believe that the small characters did like they were relatively small.
Like GI Joe sized.
Um, yeah, no, they were smaller than GI Joe.
What?
They were maybe like 2 to 3 fifths the size of a GI Joe's character, because they needed to fit inside of the vehicles.
Yeah, but I mean, I had a shitload of GI Joe vehicles when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Dave,
I'm trying to. Yeah. Yes, Sean.
Dave, I'm not a toy designer.
Oh, not like Bruce Sato.
I'm not Sato. I'm not
You're
Sato.
not a mechanical engineer slash
I
toy
don't know this
designer.
shit. Yeah,
Fair enough.
all these people have such like I all of these people have such crazy careers. I'm actually slightly jealous sometimes. Like, there's one character on here that's like a sensei slash like something else. I
Race
just
car
like I
driver,
was
champion race car
yeah
driver, and kung fu black belt, just like Matt Barron.
yeah Kung Fu Black.
It's insane, dude. Do you want to jump
Some of
into
this
the
stuff
actual
is great.
episode now? Because there's plenty to talk about, at least in the first one, and we can definitely
Yeah.
make time for the second one since you guys can talk about
So
that.
yeah, so I want to look at it from the point of like let's try to filter everything through this episode that we've watched so that hopefully you can walk away from this, Dave, and just be like, oh, okay, this made a little bit more sense.
Oof, I don't know. That's a tall order. You know why? Because let me start with the first line of dialogue
Let's get into it.
that we hear. Okay, so
Do
the
it,
first
buddy.
thing you see is this meteor crash into the ground, right? As the meteor crashes into the ground, there's what I couldn't tell if it was like green bugs or just like green stuff coming out of it. Did you notice that?
It was
Yeah,
plants, dude.
Was it actually plants?
yeah, it looked
Yeah.
Those are some
organic.
awful pixelated looking plants. Maybe I just watched a bad rendering of it. But to Matt's point, okay, so this scientist shows up. They're all in like protective gear, almost like you'd see
Like
people
radiation. They're all in
radiation
radiation
suits, or
like
like you'd see
masks.
them by like a volcano with the head to toe gear all covered up. And there's this voice from one of the scientists that says, "Remain 100 feet from the crater. The meteor's extremely radioactive." And then without missing a beat, they go, "Looks to me like we have proof at last of a life-giving meteor." At that point, I had to pause it and rewind because A, how long have we been looking for that specifically? Evidence of a life giving meteor? And B, how did you come to that conclusion instantaneously? It's not only incredibly radioactive, but it's also a life giving meteor. Did you guys have any,
Right.
did that give you pause at all?
There was a lot of this episode that gave me pause,
Okay,
so let's just chalk this up to one of the things that definitely,
gotcha.
like, I mean, this show pulls no punches in terms of giving you additional history. So I mean, if you were just like, oh, like, let's explain the origins behind Mask as well as also their conflict with Venom,
Right.
like, you don't get that in the
No,
first episode.
no.
Just like you get that from at most the theme song, knowing that like Mask is going to fight or have some conflict with Venom.
I guess,
That's all
man.
you need to know.
But
He'll
even to
fill
your
in the rest
theory,
of it.
like this one is not one of the stronger, like, listen to the theme song and you understand everything that's going on. Because there was just a lot of confusion in that. But that's
I mean,
my two
I
cents.
I mean, it made sense. I mean, like, you know, they do mention the fact that like they're always riding hot on Venom's trail, and you see Venom throughout a good
True.
portion of the theme song, and sort of like the conflict that they have is they're kind of like rolling through this fucking unbelievable laundry list of characters trying to get you to
Right.
like understand what they're doing. So I mean, like I got the sense, at least from watching this, that like there are two groups, Mask and Venom, and there's some conflict between them. That's all I really needed to know.
Sold. Ah,
Like,
well, my next favorite line was in a continuation of the same scientist, whatever, who just said, "Oh, at last, a life-giving meteor." And this, I love this line. "Now we'll be able to save more lives faster than ever by using its radioactive energy."
yep,
What kind of dialogue is that? More
I don't know.
lives, faster than ever. Ah. This at this point was when your weird, Sean. I think you mentioned earlier in the episode, like a weird alien-looking hovercraft, spacecraft thing, just kind of like bloop, just
Yes,
drops in
yes,
and then pieces out. Are you gonna
yeah.
talk about that a little bit more because I love Sato's explanation of this one later on.
This was the fly. So Sato makes this comment that he's like, when you hear like something about like when you hear about a flying fish, like you don't look for the fish, but you should look for the
Right.
bird that is flying. And I guess the idea behind this is that like, I mean, we do have a fish that is called a flying fish. And it does have the ability to be able to jump out of the water for like several feet and kind of give the impression of
Hmm.
flying. But I think the idea behind the riddle that he's posing is that like most fish will fly because a bird has snatched them up and taken them away. And so why not give more consideration towards the thing that was flying away, since there's probably a good chance that it's not extraterrestrial in nature and it's probably something that is hidden like within that. And so I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing. I just tried to explain that and I confused the shit
I
out of myself.
figured you did. I
Yep,
had
I
I
confused.
am totally
Oh my
lost.
god, my brain just
confusion
exploded. Holy
riddles.
shit.
Here's okay. So two things that I got from that. One, they basically said
Ugh.
Tracker instantly he's like, oh, I know what he's saying. He's basically saying that Venom disguised one of their helicopters and used it to fly this thing away. I'm like, well, first of all, if you put a helicopter completely encased in a shell, that shit ain't flying anywhere. So let's get that out of the way.
It was a drone, man.
Drone man.
Hmm.
Either way, terrible. Second, what's her face, dipshit doctor that doesn't do anything for the rest of the show, Professor Stevens. She saw one of the dudes come running at her right after the meteor was taken away. And then a
Right.
shitload of the Venom mask wearing guys started chasing her down this ravine. Did she not figure
Yes.
out that, oh, maybe Venom's behind it at this point? Did they need a Confucian riddle to be like,
I mean,
ah, it's probably
I
these
don't know
guys?
why there needed to be like a confusion riddle.
Confusion is right.
Yeah, definite confusion.
Hmm.
I didn't know why they needed to try to pose everything in terms of a riddle because you're right. Like she should have been like these people were trying to get me and they had masks on their head
Yeah,
and she should have been like, "Oh, okay." Like I feel like Tracker should have kind of picked up on
you'd
that.
think.
Like shame on him for, running an intelligence organization but also being sometimes the dumbest person
No,
ever.
no, he just picked up this chick, brought her back around, and then just assembled his team via computer.
Did There was like 2 seconds where like, did anybody else get like a weird misery vibe from like her waking
Yes.
up and she's just like, "Oh
Yes.
my God, where am I?" And I just wanted like Kathy Bates just to be like, "Oh no, you're
Well, dude,
fine,
that's what I'm
Chase. Don't
saying
worry about
because
it."
like she wakes
Yeah, I
up
was
and
like,
and he's just like, "Oh, hi, Professor Stevens. Some of my friends found you unconscious in a ravine." And I'm just like, "Holy shit. What is about to happen? Who is this well-dressed gentleman?" Yeah. So
yes.
that was a bit strange. She seems fine with it because as soon as he says like, "Oh, hey, I'm Matt Tracker." She's like, "Oh, I've totally heard of you. Here's all the evidence I have about this thing that's
Oh my
going to
God.
be the pinnacle of my career." Yeah.
As soon as she heard the name Matt Tracker,
Mm,
she was like, I mean, I feel like we should have just turned it off. Like they were just gonna go to
yeah.
town on one another.
Hmm.
I mean, it was like 2 seconds where she was like, "Oh my God, Matt Tracker, cops!" Like
Cops.
it got
It
sexy,
did.
got real sexy right away.
With Matt Tracker the robot.
Yeah. But I mean, like, hey, like he is a very clean cut, ruggishly handsome
Well, look,
gentleman.
dude, they do
You know,
actually cut away from the two of them. They kind of just like awkwardly finish a conversation, and then the camera cuts to Scott playing ping pong with the T-Bob, so you don't really know what's happening on the other side of things. You're just watching.
I'll tell you. I know what's happening in that
It's
other
an
room. I'll tell
adult
you exactly what's
situation.
happening.
Yeah,
Ooh,
oh boy.
yeah.
Sean, do you like
So they,
T-Bob? I'm gonna assume you like T-Bob because you like all these cutesy characters like Snarf and Dogfish things.
so
And
I liked T Bob. I think I so I had a really hard time uh kind of differentiating a lot of Scott and T Bob.
okay,
Because it seemed like there were a lot of moments where like they both should have known better. Um, and both of them kind of got a little bit annoying. They
yeah,
both became very annoying to me as a character. And I like, and that was the thing is like, Scott would have these bad ideas, and this robot would just be like, "Oh yeah, let's fucking do it," And I was like, like, I feel like one of them should have like kind of stood up and been like, "Oh, let's think this one
I feel like
through." I
Matt.
mean, because
I feel like Matt is like waiting in the wings to say something about these two. I could just tell.
Well, the thing about T-Bob that's just
Mm,
ridiculous is like the like shtick that he has. Like when he throws the like the ping pong mallet, it hits the net and it like smacks him in the face. And then
yeah,
like later in the first episode when he's talking about what's his name, Scott needs him to like cause a distraction.
right.
He just like walks right into like spoiler alert here, the sale of this meteorite to the bidding that started at 50 million.
For,
Like,
yeah, for like
talk
one
yeah,
about
piece of
the
it.
talk
best.
about
For
starting
one
low.
friggin' piece.
Yeah,
Um, the he's like, does anybody know when the next bus to Denver comes through here? And it's in
My
like the
God.
middle of the desert. So it's just some of this stuff I was like, oh, that's kind of funny because it's like this, weird egg-shaped robot
It's
like
basically
cracking
R2D2.
wise. But
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. I will
well,
definitely.
actually, the one mask that the British guy with the who was like bald with the beard,
Yeah, the
it
exotic
made
pet
him
store
look
owner.
like R2D2.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
even
I know.
notice that.
It was a blue and
Sector,
white mask.
Sector wore
Yeah,
that mask. Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Oh,
so he looks like R2D2.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Look, to
I
Matt's point
kept.
about the T-Bob character too, he had another line where it was just like, I don't know, he's trying to be like a really terrible stand-up comedian or something because they're asking him questions. So they're talking to this robot now, and he's like, Mask, I don't know anyone named Mask. I used to know someone named Marvin, but he doesn't live around here. I'm just like, who programmed
Oof.
this little shitbot? Like, what dialogue did you give? I don't know. It was just very irritating to me. Just one of those irritating little cutesy characters, but
Yeah, like at
yeah.
what point, like, is there a trope that is like it's called like annoying young boy and his robot
I
sidekick?
mean, it's
Because
in
I mean, I
all
feel like,
80s tunes,
I
yeah.
mean, I feel like this cartoon defined it. I mean, it just walking away from it, I was like, oh my, because I know so I tweeted about this earlier, but I mean, like, I really feel that this was true. It seemed like in the two episodes that I watched that there were seriously times that Scott and T Bob should have died,
Yeah.
and I was like, this would have been a
Absolutely.
way different show if these two assholes had died. Like, really,
Like in the first episode when like Scott gets thrown out of the back of a car that's going easily like 80 miles
Yeah,
an hour,
exactly.
yep,
I was like, they would have been hosing that kid off of the ground. Totally
oh,
fine.
Yeah,
I
he's
just like
basically riding in the back of like a pickup truck and just gets whipped out. Yeah, like Matt said, 100 miles an hour. The worst part was though that he almost got killed by Venom about what 3 or 4 different times, and people kept
oh, and if
saving
you
his
in the
ass.
second episode, it's not any better.
Oh,
Like
really?
in the second episode, it's not any better. Like he is always coming under fire. He is always put in the limelight. Like Mask is continually trying to like abduct and like kidnap him. It's just like what the. I mean, I just in my brain there was this moment where like they are burying Scott and they're burying T-Bob,
Yeah,
like in these like small coffins outside of like Mask, like head. It's outside of like Matt Tracker's home,
right.
and like it's Matt Tracker just inside with like a glass of Jack Daniels, and he's like, first I lose my brother, then I lose my adopted kid and his annoying ass robot. He's like, man, Venom is gonna fucking pay, and then he just like shatters the glass of scotch in his hand, and he's just like Leonardo DiCaprio and Django Unchained with like all the shards in his hand, but he doesn't fucking stop. Like he gets into like that little like shuttle downstairs, like in his basement. He's just like Mask headquarters, and like just runs
Just
down there,
Batman's it up.
just puts the first mask on, and just like I don't want to say that he like pummels Mayhem because I think that that would be too kind, but I think that like the next 74 episodes are just of him just committing heinous acts of torture to Miles Mayhem and
Look,
the rest of Venom,
I like where you're
and just
going with
like
this.
and just losing his
Yeah,
mind.
I like where you're going with it. I like where your head's at. That would require Matt Tracker to have an ounce of personality and emotion, though.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Do
So
you?
I
Well,
don't
Dave,
think
pause.
that's gonna happen.
Pause.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that, like, I mean, because, I mean, I don't know about you, but
Hmm.
I'm sure that losing a sibling
Hmm.
is a very challenging ordeal, and so I'm willing to say that at a part of this, that sort of Matt Tracker's very robotic persona is him kind of keeping in check some of the emotions and stress that he's gone through in losing a sibling.
Yeah, I could totally see that. At the same time, I could see that losing this shitbird of an adopted son would be a burden lifted from his shoulders because this kid
Oh,
is
I
the
mean, I definitely,
worst. Just
I
give him
feel
to Mayhem. Just be like, here, fucking keep him. We're done.
just
You can
keep.
have this robot
No,
shit too.
well, the other hilarious thing from that episode is like, who was the one that saved Scott?
It was Hondo.
Hondo.
Yeah, okay. So Hondo, like
Hondo's like
later in that
super almost
episode,
dead at
like
this point. Yeah.
exactly, like 30 seconds later, like after they kind of route Venom in there, it's like I think it was Santo who says like another great job thanks to teamwork.
Yes.
And like they like don't know this guy's like hurt yet. And I was like,
He's just
well, why don't
laying
you
on the
tell that
ground
to
bleeding
Hondo?
out. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
exactly. It's like another great job to teamwork, but Hondo's never gonna walk again or something like that. Like just like the sheer stupidity of the writing in this show is just it's like tragically hilarious.
Okay, well here's the best part of that because that serves the plot for this one episode. Okay, so General Mayhem, great name by the way, also great character design. He's just this giant bloated
Yes.
general with a huge bristly mustache. They get the meteor. Now, like we said, the meteor had obviously life-giving properties because that's what it does. Well, the general, he's not interested in that because what are you going to do with that as Venom? You can't do anything with that. You can't profit
Yeah,
from
you
that.
can't do anything
No,
with that.
so he slices the shit out of it with some lasers, which
Yep.
reveals its death-giving
Oh,
powers.
you mean does it turn it into a Death
Oh,
Stone?
hey man, that's a real good idea. What a way to
That's a
market
great name for
this.
an episode.
Yeah, what a way to market this to potential supervillains for 50 million bucks a slice. The Death
Yep.
Stone. Which, okay, so at that point, now Mask is trying to get the thing back from Mayhem, not only to keep it out of the hands of supervillains around the world, but to get the life-giving properties of the meteor back so they can save Hondo because of asshole Scott and T-Bob. And that's more or less where the rest of the episode goes. Do you
Yeah.
remember how they? Okay, so it's split into three parts at this point. Do you remember
Yes.
how they get that last final part? Because Tracker drops the ball and he loses it. He has no emotion when he loses it, but he loses that last piece. Do you remember how they get the last one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Please let the people know because I can't
So
do it.
they get back to HQ, and Tracker's just like they've managed to rescue and save at that point 2/3 of the Death Stone.
And they've been tracking
And
it using their like satellites and whatever computer systems they have. They can track the
right.
individual pieces of meteor, right?
Oh, with the radiation tracking
Uh
satellite.
huh. Yeah. Very specific
Yeah.
satellite. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So at this point, T-Bob arrives, and he stole like him and Scott arrive, and they had stolen a truck,
Yeah.
from where. Like, and that's another thing that I don't understand. Like, this was another point where Scott should have died during the transaction where Miles Mayhem was trying to sell his 1/3 of his Death Stone to a buyer. All right, Scott decides to get in Mayhem's helicopter
Right.
and then just crashes that helicopter.
Just
all
drags it
over a
across the
dock.
ground.
It doesn't explode. It doesn't erupt like we all know helicopters do because they are delicate, frail pieces of engineering. All right, like it just continues to exist. So at this point, Scott's just like, I should not be driving anything.
He is
So
drunk
he
at
looks
this point. He is so drunk.
He's drunk with power, and so he looks at T-Bob and is just like, "Can you drive?" And T-Bob's like, "Ooh, this is not a good idea." He goes, "Well, then you're driving." So they steal this truck. They steal this truck from this. That's like the equivalent of like, "Hey Matt, do you want to swim with sharks while I just pour chum in the water?" And Matt's like, "Absolutely not." I'm like, "Well, have fun swimming."
Well, then you're swimming. You
Like,
push him in.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, Jesus. So like, so they arrive back at HQ. So Scott and Bob have they have stolen a truck at this point and just driven this who knows how far. All right. They arrive and Tracker's just like, "Oh, we lost that 1/3 of the Death Stone." And T-Bob's just like, "Oh no, you didn't. It's in the back of the truck that we stole."
And then everybody's just like, and
And
this is where Matt says that line. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where Tracker just goes, "I don't know whether or not I should hug you or spank you." And I'm like, why not both?
Yeah, at the same time.
Why not? Why not a hug spank? Get in there.
Give me the old Hank. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how they put a nice little pretty bow on
Yeah,
top of the
what do they do?
package
They
of
like
closing out that episode.
they just kind of mush the pieces of meteor back together, and they're like, oh, it's totally not going to kill you now with its incredibly high doses of radiation, Hondo. So just chill out next to it, and you'll be totally fine.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That blew my mind was the fact that like, uh, this was like like them using this meteor to cure Hondo. Like in my mind, did you guys think about this? Like, had they captured a meteor that was like this before and been able to successfully test
No,
it?
they couldn't
Like,
have
did you
because
guys?
the doctor or the professor was even like, finally, we have proof of a life-giving meteor. It's like some
Right,
crackpot had this theory at some point, but they could never prove it. So,
right. So these are like totally untested
yeah,
methods
highly,
of being able to.
extremely radioactive. Yeah.
So they expose Hondo to this like radiation from this meteor, and he's just like, "Oh, hey guys, what's up? Where am I?" And like that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, no,
well,
that's not exactly how
doesn't
it
end with
ends.
that. It
That's
doesn't
correct.
end with
That's
that. It
correct.
doesn't end with that.
Oh
I
boy.
stand
Did
corrected.
you guys
It
watch the PSA?
ends with my favorite fucking part
Oh
of the
man.
Oh,
show.
that was the
Speaking of
best.
Scott and T-Bob, I wish every single PSA of this show would just have the two of them getting murdered and then Tracker coming on and just being like, "Remember, kids, this could happen to you if you're not careful." Holy shit.
I feel like this is like this is why you always leave a note. Like,
Exactly.
ugh.
The best part, like when the ball like hits the street and the truck like
Well, tell them before you.
blows right past.
Okay, I was gonna
All
say,
right, so
walk the people through it.
T
Yeah.
Bob and Scott are like playing catch, and
The
you know,
shittiest game of catch ever.
yeah, T Bob's like, I don't know why this game's called catch. You keep missing everything, and Scott's like,
Such
you
a
suck at
dick.
throwing.
Yeah, both
Burn.
just assholes.
Which is hilarious because I'd be like, yeah, the robot sucks. Like the mathematically programmed machine is terrible. Not the mistake-making human. So Scott misses the ball. It like rolls, 5 inches into the street, and Scott stops just in time to see like a huge truck whizzing perhaps inches by his face.
Yes.
So it's like the thing that just cracked me up is he just like stops, huge truck whooshes by, and then he just like reaches out and grabs the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tracker just walks in off screen from like, where was he? Like, was he on the other side of the road? Like, he just walks in. He's just like, remember, kids, never run, always stop and look both ways before crossing the street. The end.
Unless you're Scott and T
Well,
Bob.
Yeah, I wish they would have
Yeah,
just got
well,
mowed
that's what
down by
happens
that
with an
cement truck.
absentee father.
That's true. That's true. Oof.
Oh, Jesus.
The infinite deaths of Scott and T-Bob. I would watch that.
I would watch that as well.
I want to give you guys some
wanted
time to talk about the second episode if you think there's anything worthwhile from that one, because I did not get to
Oh
see
my
that.
God, Dave, you need to watch the second
Okay.
episode. It is so uncomfortable to watch.
Matt, do you agree with that assessment?
Oh my god, I have never seen like just so many racially insensitive
Really?
things in my life.
Wow.
Holy
Like-
shit, dude.
Like, I mean, so first of all, the Native Americans
Oh,
who
no.
like, the old guy who's
Oh,
like,
no.
it starts with an old guy driving across the desert.
I think his
looks
name was
to-
his name was like Chief Slow Bear or something
Oh,
like that.
no.
It was
Yeah.
terrible.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's like he turns to the dog in like the passenger seat or something, and he's like, "The desert is like you, lazy and with hot breath," or something like that. I'm like, and says it in like real broken English, and then they cut to like his son or grandson or something, and it's a total white kid.
I can't
Like-
not watch the show just from that description.
And like the mom that's with them
Mhm.
is dressed exactly like a stereotypical Pocahontas
Oh,
with
boy.
like the
Yeah,
two
dude,
braided
it was-
pigtails, and she's white too.
Do we have
Like,
any
these are the
idea like
whitest
when
Native
this show
Americans
takes
I've ever
place?
seen.
Any idea?
It
what...
wasn't even like because I didn't even pick up on the color of their skin in this, Matt. I picked up more on the fact that like the garb, like the costume design that they had for this was like so stereotypical, which is fine. There are Native Americans and they are able to wear whatever they want. Like it is not, they are not Pharrelling this up. They don't have to worry about being culturally insensitive about their own culture. It's their own. They can wear that stuff. It doesn't matter. But like I lost it. Do you remember the scene where everybody in mask, like Tracker does the like, what he does the request to the computer, like, tell me who would be the best suited for this mission, and they all assemble at the table, and then they have this moment where like they are all kind of like talking about what's going on. and it is
Oh my
so
God.
culturally insensitive
It's
that like
so bad.
I cringed. I was losing my fucking mind.
Like
Um,
I forget how it starts, but Dusty's like they're talking about like the emerald like arrowhead or something like that, which
right,
is like
right.
kind of the point of this episode. But God, it's like I can't even remember. I just remember Matt Tracker saying like, sometimes I think you've got an empty teepee up there,
Yep.
Dusty, and I'm like,
Oh
oh,
boy.
Oh yeah.
and that was like the least of it. I mean,
That
this
was
like
like
Southern
yeah.
Dusty guy was like cracking the racist jokes left and right. I'm like, oh my God.
I
It
cannot
like
wait to watch this, gentlemen.
I like again. It has
Honestly, just watch that
Only
part.
that
The
one?
rest
Okay.
of it is
yeah.
ridiculous,
Okay.
but
I mean
that part is cringeworthy.
it it made me so uncomfortable to watch this episode because it was so. I mean, like Dave, you we were talking about how like your confusion with just the general idea behind this show. This
Hmm.
episode takes things. Second episode takes things to a confusing yet uncomfortable level
Oof.
that is like I've never seen this because it introduces concepts in terms of like actual alien abductions.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
It talks about like cultural insensitivity that everybody seems to be cool and on board with
Yeah.
because they're making fun of Native
Well,
Americans, and I
sure.
was just like, I'm not okay with this. Like watching it, I was just like, I am very uncomfortable, and like I'm sitting on the couch watching this like last night, like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm I am wiggling around on the couch like, oh god, like just shut up, like it was that fucking uncomfortable. But
Mm.
then it also introduces like an additional level of like weird slapstick comedy because in this episode, uh, Miles Mayhem's pants fall down around his
Oh
ankles,
boy.
and like he can't seem to like get them back up.
That is so
Uh,
strange.
I mean, there
Just
is
tonally
just
for that show is just very strange.
there is just so much weird, and there's a whole bunch of like confusion in terms of I guess identity because originally this this Native American person that you're introduced at the beginning, which I think it's Slow Bear, um, like he had an arrowhead that he had given to his son or grandson. Like Matt said, I'm not 100% sure what the relationship was, but he gives him this thing, and then Scott does something very nice for this kid, and the kid gives him the emerald half of an arrowhead as like a reward, and is just like you can wear it like as a sign of friendship. You can wear it until the sun goes down, and Scott's just like, oh boy, I'm excited, and so then like Mask seems to immediately know that Scott has this thing on him, and they just like straight up abduct him. Okay,
Okay.
and they are in the process of trying to recover this artifact, this emerald artifact, and they go into they discovered that the emerald arrowhead is a key that opens up a like a cave.
Of course.
All right, so they open this cave and go into it. Now, this is the order of the people who enter in. It is Venom enters
Hmm.
first, trying to find out whatever technology or whatever is inside this cave, followed heavily by our Mask team, followed then by Scott and T-Bob.
Of course.
Okay, so at some point, as Venom is running through, first Venom triggers a trap, like some type of a booby trap, which looks like these giant there are these giant
It's like
cylinders.
cement rollers,
Yeah, it's like
basically.
cement,
Okay.
exactly. These cement rollers that fall from the ceiling, and Venom is just like, we're able to use like our mask, our masks that we have
Right.
to deflect. And so it gets to our mask team, and our mask team is just like, yeah, we can do the same thing. Like we can block these giant rollers, no problem. Who's behind them is fucking Scott and T-Bob. They are
Please
not
tell me they
wearing
get
any
murdered,
masks.
just smashed into
Yeah.
paste.
And that's what happens.
What? Get out of here.
No, like they get smashed. They
I
get
don't buy it.
smashed, and at the end of the episode, they both reappear And Scott just goes, "That was a really weird dream. I had a dream that like I got injured and then I was like in another planet and these aliens like helped me to recover."
What the
And
fuck?
then T Bob just goes, "I had the exact same dream." And Scott just looks at him and he goes, "Robots don't dream."
I mean, I feel like
And dude,
honestly, at this point, you could
my
be making
mind,
this up, and I wouldn't know the difference. I wouldn't know if it was a real episode of this crazy ass show, or if you were just making it up to fuck with me. Because honestly, it could go either way right now. So I'll just have to watch it and see.
I'm not kidding. Like
Okay.
it was something that like this episode was so mind-numbingly and cripplingly confusing that like I loved it. I loved
It
every
was
minute.
I was so confused. I was like, yeah, well, Scott's dead.
Yeah, that's all that
Great.
matters. Scott and T
All
Bob
right.
are no more. What
I mean,
was?
that's really what I was just like. I was like, at this point in the episode, I was like, God, I hate Scott. And then he died, and I was like, oh no,
Thank God.
oh my God,
It's the last thing I said to him. I feel terrible.
exactly. Why didn't I tell him I loved him?
So
Crushed by those
what was
rollers.
the
He's like, oh
PSA in
no.
this one? Was it a good one? Was it
Oh
any bit
yeah,
as
it was.
good?
Yeah,
Do
don't
you
fuck
remember
with
what,
alien
Oh
spacecraft.
yeah, I guess. That's a good call.
Do you remember what the PSA was, Baron?
I must have turned it off before then.
Okay,
In
it
fact,
was,
I did turn it off before
Yeah, I don't
then.
blame you on that one.
it was don't pet strange dogs.
I feel like that is in a lot of these cartoons. There's a lot of that one
There
going
must
on.
have been a serious
Man.
rabid dog problem
Packs
in
of
the 80s.
wild dogs are controlling our nation's capitals. So
Do you guys remember the dog scourge of '78?
Do
Back
I?
when it killed a fifth of our kids
lost a
that we had
hand.
on
Yep.
the street. Exactly. Oh,
God.
jeez.
Well, that's
So
fun. Mask.
one more thing about the Native American racial insensitivity in
Yeah.
this show is so that there's another member of M.A.S.K that I don't
Yes.
believe we were introduced to in the two first episodes. Chief Nevada Rushmore,
Oh boy, there it
who
is.
is an
Shut it down.
American
Shut it down.
Indian
Burn
and
this sucker
Matt
to the
Trapper's childhood friend. Here's
Say
the
that.
best
Say
thing.
that again.
Say it all
The
again.
vehicle he is
Say that again,
Chief
Matt.
Nevada Rushmore.
Fucking this
What?
fucking show. No, it's so ridiculous.
Okay, and then his mask and
So
his
listen,
vehicle. Yeah.
the vehicle is Goliath 2.
Okay.
His mask's name, Totem.
Oh,
Oh fuck.
ouch.
Yeah.
Well, maybe him and Marshall
Did you see-
Bravestar
did
can
you
hook
see
up
what-
and fight crime together.
Did you see what his mask, what totem fires?
Now, isn't it like explosive grenades or something like that?
It fires grenades.
That's pretty sweet, actually. I would take that mask.
But you know what the grenades are shaped like? Small
Tomahawks.
totems.
I thought you were gonna say like tomahawks or something.
I'm not kidding. They're shaped like they're small totem grenades.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
Oh,
I need to watch this. I'm gonna watch it right now. Guys,
well, I feel
are we
like
gonna...
I feel like then
Yeah.
should we ask if you? I mean, we've gotten to this point, Dave. Have we cleared up some of the
No.
misnomers and confusion behind that?
No, not at all. Because I understand
mean,
like
keeping
what's
that-
going
oh,
on,
God.
but I don't. I still didn't get as I was watching the show. They just smash cut these things to bits. It's just
Yeah.
it's exhausting to watch. But I still kind of enjoyed it at the same time. Like Sean, you had
Yeah.
a great quote earlier about it was just cringeworthy and insane, and you loved it. And that's kind of how I feel. Like I can understand why people like this show, and it's just nuts in a way that I can't even describe. So I'm gonna ask, do you guys recommend this show to our listeners out there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. Well, I guess that'll be 3 for 3. I'm still kind of on the fence just because I haven't watched enough of it to understand what's going on and to learn some new racial jokes, I guess, would be fun. So I'm
No,
gonna.
you don't really. You shouldn't.
gonna-
Don't give them
no, I'm
credit.
gonna
for
try
this.
to-
Don't
no?
give them any credit
Okay.
whatsoever. I
All
mean,
right.
these things are bad. Like this is not. Watching this, I was like, this is inappropriate.
Chief
And
Nevada Rushmore.
I'm a very inappropriate person, but I was like, this is inappropriate even for me.
Nevada Rushmore.
Like that line that Baron quoted about like
Oh.
Dusty not like having an empty teepee. I almost just closed my iPad and I was like, nope, I'm done. Like this is enough for me. Like, ugh.
Well, I for one am totally looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good time. I think that's it for this week. Do you guys have anything else on
the
this one?
themes? I was gonna say, I think for the theme song,
Yeah.
the montages of how they
Oh,
assemble mask team members,
Definitely.
and the PSAs at the end, I think are for me are worth it to watch this show. Like they are so fucking good.
That theme song, by the way, was composed by Ham. I'm terrible with his name. Saban and Levy, the guys who have done Power Rangers, obviously, but just a ton of compositions of theme songs over the years too. So
Yes,
that is why it is so catchy, so good, so 80s rock. Good times.
it's
Yeah.
great.
Anything else from Mask before we close it up and move on to plugs and contact information?
No, I think we're good. This
Excellent.
is thank you guys for indulging me on this. I'm glad that like I really don't remember very much from this show, so I was very happy to jump back into it.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of
Recap.
this too. Is like we relive some of the shows that were favorites from our childhood, but we also get to check out stuff that people have recommended to us and stuff that we kind of remember, but would like to go back and watch again too. So that's half the fun of the
And
show.
I need to find a compilation of the PSAs because I like there has to be a drug PSA for
Oh, there's
this.
got to be. I
Like
mean, if
there
there's
has
one
to be a
about
drug
not
PSA.
petting dogs, there's got to be a drug one. It's got to be.
There
I
has to be.
sure
75
I
episodes.
hope it is. I
Oh
hope
my
it's
God.
T Bob like laying in an alley with a needle in his arm or like smoking a crack pipe or something. It's got to be just over the top.
Dudes, I'm not joking. I just looked it up as we were talking.
Oh, boy.
There is one that is about hitchhiking, and there is one about child molestation.
Oh, good. Those two are linked.
Oh my God.
We're gonna have to put them on the site because that's too good to
Oof.
miss. That's a good opportunity right there. So Sean will forward them over to me. I will make them available to you. Speaking of Sean, well, I know that the holiday is coming up here. We got Thanksgiving coming around the corner. So, do you have anything coming up over the next week or so, or what are your holiday plans? If you want to share them with the folks, they can drop in on you and your pops on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think on man, what week is this? I think if you are in DC and you are interested in short films and storytelling that is going to be in the area on November 22nd, I'm going to be writing and working on a movie next weekend. November 22nd is when the movie will premiere. It's part of the Speak Easy Shorts Film Festival in DC, so you can check out more information. Speak Easy Shorts in DC, or you can look up the production company that I work with called Crowded Elevator.
Very cool. We're gonna have all that information up on our site right before the holiday
And
week.
then
What else you got?
I'll be doing like a ton of shows then in December for Washington Improv Theater,
Right.
and they now have a new fancy website, which is witdc.org.
Yeah,
So
and it's
check
pretty
that out.
sweet too. I checked that out the other day when I was posting some links, and it looks pretty snazzy. So you guys should definitely
Oh,
check
thanks,
that out.
buddy.
And then check out Sean
Yeah,
too
you
and
can-
his variety
You can
of
find
productions.
you can find my lovely face.
Yeah.
On that site.
Check out his face.
Check out
He
my face.
probably won't be wearing a mask, but I'm not 100% sure about that. You never
God,
know.
I want to now.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Matt, are you going to be wearing a mask, walking around in a t-shirt anytime soon?
No.
No? What else are
No.
you going to be doing over next week? What are your holiday plans?
Very little other than I'm going to start writing some fan fiction
Oh, buddy, we're so excited about
no. Please.
based on the cartoons that we are watching.
Now here's the thing.
So
If you're living in the world of these cartoons, I'm going to say feel free to be as racially insensitive and drug induced as you want because that's what these cartoons do. So I'm going to give you
Yeah.
free reign to just go bananas.
Let me tell you something. The Native American community is not going to appreciate what I have to say in my Mask fan fiction.
At least he's upfront about it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh,
I feel
boy.
like Matt Tracker and Slow Bear are going to be like at a Chiefs, like a Kansas City Chiefs game.
Oh no. Or a Washington Redskins game, perhaps.
Yeah, oh, even
There
Or,
it
you know,
is.
they're betting on it on a reservation casino
Oh.
while watching the Redskins Kansas City Chiefs square off.
Oh boy.
Oh my
Well,
God.
Matt just wrote half of the story in the last 10 seconds. So that's what you have
The
to look
end.
forward to.
And we're done.
Oh boy.
Guys, I think the point of today's episode has just been don't be an asshole and be tolerant of other cultures and
Yeah,
people.
And don't
Like,
pet strange dogs.
Don't pet strange dogs.
Both points of
You gotta
good advice.
you gotta pick those strange dogs up and you gotta give them a loving home.
Yeah, that's actually real nice.
But don't pet them. Don't pet them.
No, pick them up. Don't pet them.
Don't pick them up. Don't pet them.
That's good. We're gonna make a T-shirt. Anybody want to make a T-shirt for us? Pick it up. Don't pet it. Oh man.
Yikes. Hey
Well,
Dave, what are you up to in the
Oh
next
my
couple
God,
weeks?
I have no idea. Recovering from this show, I think. or just binge watching all 75 episodes and just going on a racist tirade. I don't know, one of the two. 'Tis the season.
Either
Oh
or.
man. So if you want to find out more about Matt's fanfic, Sean's theatrical and movie productions, and my insanity, please come on over and visit us at SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can follow us on Twitter at MorningTunes. You can check out some craziness over on our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. Email us all your own fanfic, your deviant art, your crazy stories, your suggestions for episodes, anything you want. SaturdayMorningCartoons at gmail.com. Sean, where can the folks find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Paul Ellis,
And Matt?
and
Oh,
on
sorry,
on
buddy.
Twitter on Twitter I have begun to live tweet episodes of cartoons that we're
Ooh,
watching for this
that's
show.
fun.
So if you're interested, I know it's not like I have a consistent time for doing this, but if you're around and you see it and you want to comment on it, please do.
You got to add a hashtag to that so I can follow along too.
Nope.
Oh, come on, dude.
I did. I had M.A.S.K. M.A.S.K was my
Hashtag don't pet it. That's what it's going to be.
don't.
Hashtag don't pet it.
Oh boy. Hey Matt, where can people find you?
At Bag of Sandwiches, as usual.
Perfect.
Good times. You can find
Always
me.
flawless.
Yeah, always flawless. At always flawless. You can find me at Dr. Claw MD. You can also find me over at Collider.com. I will continue to be doing the TV reviews for such shows as Gotham, Flash, Arrow, Constantine, and The Walking Dead because they will continue right on through the holiday break. So I'll be busy doing that. I'd love for you to come on over and take a read on my review. Let me know what you think. Man, the holiday's coming up, but I believe Matt has the next pick. Do you have any idea
Oh,
what we're
yeah.
going to be watching, bub? Think of that one yet?
I really haven't taken a look at the list, but
You can always tie it into Thanksgiving if you want.
What?
You can always tie it into Thanksgiving if you can think of like a Thanksgiving themed anything. Or we can shy away from holiday themed episodes altogether.
I was going to
since
say, other than like a Schoolhouse Rock short, I don't think there are any Thanksgiving themed
maybe
holidays.
we'll find one.
We
We'll
could
do a fun one.
We could watch more of Liberty Kids and
Oh,
see if it
God.
got any better.
I'm sure.
Isn't there a peanut? Isn't there a Peanuts?
I was thinking there was a
Thanksgiving?
Peanuts thing, but I don't know. I mean, there's a
Isn't
Great
it,
Pumpkin.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not thinking of the Great Pumpkin?
Wasn't there like a
Oh,
stop
maybe-
motion
maybe.
animated Thanksgiving thing? I don't know. We'll do a little research, see if we can find a special holiday theme episode. But anyway, we're gonna let Matt do his pick. Did you have one, or are you still waiting on one?
I really haven't put a lot of thought into it, but if I had to pick one, just shooting from the hip,
Mm-hmm.
stalling as I look at the
Mhm.
list of podcasts.
We're gonna put the
This
Jeopardy
is
music
going
on.
well.
Yet.
Yeah.
We're going well.
I'm going to just say we're going to watch Tailspin because I love that
Oh,
one.
I love Tailspin. That'll be fun.
Tailspin's great.
Yeah, guess what?
Yeah,
M.A.S.K
it was
had a cargo seaplane in this episode, so yeah, we're gonna go Tailspin. That'll be great. Baloo the
boy.
bear. Good times.
Huh.
Yeah, that's fun. All right, man. Well, that sounds good. This has been Dave, Sean, and Matt from Saturday Morning Cartoons. We're going to let Sean take us out, and then we will talk to you next week. So thanks for listening.
Dave,